is with the greatest pleasure on my last programme day that I welcome a man who maybe is not in his first programme day in our part of the world, but certainly he's a new policeman on the beat. It's your superintendent, and it's Simon Walls, and you're most welcome.
Thanks, Ron.
You're based at Ardmore.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I started in Ardmore on the 1st of April.
Right. What's your job there? What have you to do? What does a superintendent
What's
do?
a superintendent? It's a good question. My title role is district commander.
Wow.
Well, I'm not
the
sure.
Narcissist, the narcissist in me says I would love to have been a district
You'd like to be a
commander.
district commander. Maybe we should swap jobs. From the 1st of April, the PACE and I restructured some of its boundaries, and 11 new district commanders were appointed to those new roles.
Yeah.
I was one of those who was fortunate enough to be appointed as district commander. Newry and Mourne isn't new to me. I was previously working in what was called E-District, which also included this part of the world.
Yeah. How long ago?
I started in the old E-District in November 2013.
Yeah, relatively recently.
Yeah, relatively recently.
You're a modern cop.
Yeah, I'm a modern cop. I've served for about 17 years.
Yeah.
I started my career in London.
In the Met?
No, not in the Met. No, I started in the City of London Police, which is, as you might know, is a small police force that simply polices the square mile of the city.
Within the sound of Bow Bells.
That's it, exactly. I wasn't born in the sound of Bow Bells, but I certainly policed within the sound of Bow Bells. So yeah, I'm I suppose a relatively modern police officer. The face might not look modern, but certainly in terms of my experience as a police officer, it's relatively recent.
Did you come into the job from university? Are you a graduate entrant?
No, I'm not a graduate entrant as such, but I'm a graduate of university in England and also a graduate of Trinity College Dublin as well. So I spent a bit of time in education and probably have never left education either. I enjoy the challenge of study. Yeah, absolutely.
It's also good from the point of view of inclusivity on the island of Ireland. And you guys cooperate with the Gardaí, they with you. But you got a flavour of the other side of the border down there in your student days there.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I mean, we have a fantastic relationship with colleagues in the Garda. We have a very practical, very operationally based relationship. There is frequent contact between us and our colleagues across the way. One of my early meetings last week was actually with colleagues from Dundalk and Louth to talk about issues of mutual concern. And for me, I suppose, having policed in England, having sort of lived in England and lived in Dublin, it does give me, I suppose, maybe a reasonably broad view of policing issues, but also of issues across the island of Ireland as well.
Because there are still people out there, without a shadow of doubt, Simon, who would try to enter into a role of demarcation. We are that, and he's one sort of Irish person or Ulster person, and he's different, But we're all the same, really, because we're human beings.
Yeah. We're all the same, and as a police service, differentiations like that simply don't matter. Issues of race, of gender, of sexuality, whatever it is, they're irrelevant to me as a police officer. My role is to deliver a good service to people, no matter who they are, what they are, and where they come from. And that's certainly something that I will make sure that my officers will always deliver. A neutral police service that meets people at the point of their need, not on the basis of some types of prejudice or discrimination.
We don't do prejudice.
No, we don't at all.
That's all rubbish and not good. But life's too short for that sort of stuff. But tell me, what are the mutual concerns at the moment, as far as you can speak about them, between yourselves and Dundalk?
So there are a variety of concerns. There are concerns around the border. I had an interesting conversation with some young people last week who came to me to talk about their concerns about driving standards on the border, particularly young people putting themselves in danger. So that's a mutual concern. There's actually a group of young people who are putting together an advertising campaign of their own because they're so concerned about standards of driving on the border and people using the border to try and evade both the Garda and ourselves. There are also, I suppose, issues around people smuggling diesel, issues also around what we call travelling criminals, people who use both sides of the border to commit particularly burglaries.
Yeah.
So they're the sort of issues that we have in common, and we work together to try and deliver a joint solution or
Yeah.
mutual solution.
It's almost on a day-to-day basis you would be in touch with them, or your operational people
We are.
would be.
We are. I mean,
Yeah.
we meet at a variety of levels. I met with the guards last week at a senior level. Some colleagues met with them again yesterday, and I know there is probably daily contact
Yeah.
between officers on the ground trying to just deliver a good service to that particular community on the border.
In another age, we would have been talking about different things, and I'm bound to say, and I don't want to dwell on it, but there are still bad boys out there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know,
You had a bomb dropped on you from a tower block in Belfast. the
yeah,
other day.
absolutely. You know, there remains a threat from dissident Republicans. I mean, you know, we're quite honest about that. We see the outworkings of that. We saw the outworkings of that in Belfast, as you say, a few days ago. And as a local police force, as a local police trying to serve their community, we have to take into consideration when officers are deployed, when officers do certain
Yeah, of
duties,
course.
the threat that remains. But as you know, and as the community knows, there are a very small group of people
Yeah.
who don't enjoy the support of the community.
they
I think, you know, we and the community are entirely sick of it.
Yeah.
It's a campaign without purpose or
Yeah.
with meaning, and unfortunately inevitably leads to loss of life and threat to people.
Well, thankfully, we've come a fair distance along the road towards that goal of peace. We're still not there. We've got to keep going. It's peace is something. Peace is the journey. Then the journey we make towards the goal and all of that. It's important. As you're a family man, are
I am,
you?
yeah.
And you're native of where?
Well, I was born in Downpatrick.
Yeah.
So coming back to Newry Morning Down district, I'm
pretty
sort
all
of,
right. That.
yeah. I left at 7 months old, got no memories of it, but I'm.
And where did
I'm
they take you at 7?
I'm a child to Newton Abbey.
Newton Abbey.
So I was brought up in Newton Abbey
Yeah.
and was schooled in Belfast.
Yeah. What school did you go to?
Belfast Royal Academy,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
a
in
famous one,
sort of
yeah.
in North Belfast,
Yeah.
and we were talking about the hunger strike earlier on.
Yeah.
Certainly, I was there at a time of during the early '80s, and it was a sort of an interesting time to be in North Belfast as a teenager.
Absolutely. Simon, what drew you to the job?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
You just don't become a policeman overnight. There is something, there's some part of you that was built into you somewhere that made you say, I feel a call.
There probably was. There's probably something in my DNA about being a police officer. There's a wee bit of a I suppose family tradition around policing.
Yeah.
Both in the RUC and indeed the RIC. So there's a wee bit in my genes
Absolutely.
around policing, and for me, I wouldn't want to overstate this, but there was a vocational aspect to it.
Yeah.
I felt I don't want to sound pretty pious around it either, but a call to public service.
Yeah. That's okay.
And I think that what I do and what colleagues do is we play such an important role in society.
Yeah.
So there was something vocational for me in that.
Yeah.
And I at times have to remind myself when the going gets tough and things are difficult, I have to remind myself of why I actually wanted to put on this uniform. I spoke to some student officers or probationary officers last week and spoke to them about the importance. Actually, we're not here for ourselves, we're here for other people.
Yes, of course.
And I reminded them of the importance that they have to bear that in mind throughout their career, the importance that our focus is actually on the community, not on ourselves.
And that community's out there, and police and others, and I've said this to Home Secretaries in the past over dinner in the BBC, in another incarnation, Douglas Hurd being one of them. This constancy of appeal for the public to give information. And my observation on this is that the significant and relevant public really aren't going to give you information, because those who are significant have the information. They're going to stay stum. But the ordinary folk of Newry, Banbridge, of Downpatrick, wherever, they just don't know. They just don't know who's doing what. And I often felt that it's a false call to be putting out for the community to give information, because the ordinary people don't have that class of information. Is that your experience or not?
It's not.
Really?
Well, I suppose there are varying levels and degrees of information that police receive, as you well know. There's members of our community are out there. They're in their homes or in their workplaces, and they see things. They hear things.
Yes.
I'll give you an example that we've had a small series of burglaries in a particular part of Newry.
Yeah.
We put out a message to people around a particular vehicle that we were concerned about, and people, I was checking this morning about what happened in the past 24 hours, and we've actually had 2 or 3 reports in from members of the public citing a vehicle that we're concerned about. So the person citing that vehicle may not know why we want to speak to that person, may not know the significance of it, may have actually no connection to the criminality of the person in the vehicle, but they know we want to know, so they're picking up the phone and telling us. And I worked before in Fermanagh, and we used to, we had issues around livestock theft and theft from farms, and we emphasised to people, look, if you see a farm vehicle moving in the middle of the night, or cattle moving when they shouldn't be, pick up the phone and tell us. So people see things, and it's really important if something looks out of place, or if we put an appeal out, that people actually respond to that, because that sort of information is absolutely the lifeblood of us.
You see, that's hugely put. That's hugely put, and thank you for that. I was kind of trapped in a time warp, going back to the time of the violence, the terrorism, and in that context, ordinary decent people wouldn't know anything. But precisely in the context you're speaking of now, there is the likelihood that the ordinary day-to-day business of going about one's work and one's domesticity, you see things, you spot
Absolutely,
things.
particularly when it's in response to an appeal from us, because sometimes people will see something that looks completely innocent, but when we put out an appeal and put some context to what they may have seen, that can actually provoke a really useful response. So it's vital that when we ask the public if they've seen something suspicious, that they tell us, or just they're going about their daily business and they see something they're not happy with, because people often have a good instinct what looks right and what looks wrong. So pick up the phone and tell us, and let us judge whether that information is useful or not.
Someone once said your first instinct is the right instinct.
It often can be. So people have that instinct that something looks unusual, or they're worried, to pick up the phone and tell us.
Are you a police officer these days, or are you a manager and a clerk?
No, I'm a police officer.
Are you?
Absolutely.
How does it get expression when you're...
Absolutely. I suppose, the difficulty for someone like me is that I spend a lot of my time managing personnel issues, managing budgetary issues. But at the end of the day, I'm only doing that to facilitate the policing process. So I am absolutely a police officer, to my fingertips a police officer, because They
would have asked you this at your interview, I'd say.
No. My reason for existence, the reason for this job is keeping people safe, keeping communities safe, and that will always be the forefront of my decision making. So I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm a police officer. I also, alongside the administration, the personnel issues, the discipline issues, I plan for big operations. At the moment, I'm planning for the Irish Open. We'll start planning for the parading season. There are day-to-day crime issues, significant crime issues that come to me, and I have to deal with them. So no, I'm a cop, and always will be. No matter where I sit in the organisation, I'll always be a police officer.
That's reassuring to hear that. It's very important. The race hate crime thing, we don't have so much of it here. We're quite blessed. The community here is a welcoming community for folk who come in from the new Europe, and they're strong within the community. You probably don't have the statistics about you at the moment, but I would ask the political parties this as well. Folk from the new Europe joining the police, becoming an SDLP councillor or a DUP councillor, Sinn Féin. Is it happening in the police to any significant extent?
I don't have the figures,
no, of course,
Ronan,
I
but I know of certain officers and members of our support staff who come from what you describe as a new Europe.
Yes.
And as an organisation, you know, we absolutely embrace anyone who wants to join us. So, and I think that since that adds, we talked about diversity, that adds the diversity of the organisation, and it makes us a more representative organisation. It makes it representative of the whole community, and people from, you know, from Poland, from wherever, they just bring a different perspective,
Yeah,
and that adds a richness to us as an organisation.
Yeah. Good stuff. Simon Walls, I'm very pleased you're with us.
Thank you.
And I wish you well.
Thanks,
God
Rob.
bless you.
Take
Go
care.
well.
Thank
Take
you.
care.